I'm Kit Noonan.
And I'm Kaylin Serena Stanton. We're certified coaches and soulmates from different generations who aim to simplify wellness for you. SoulFull Wellness is a personal wellness evolution podcast and community that embraces living well your way. No trends, diets, or one-size-fits-all advice here.
We aim to bring you practical guidance and share our personal experiences so you too can heal from the inside and out and experience your own wellness evolution.
Join us every Thursday as we embrace living from the soul.
In today's episode, we're talking about personality profiles and ways your characteristics might just be getting in the way of improving your wellness.
Welcome back, Soulful Society. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being a part of this community. And if you're new, welcome. We're so honored to have you. If you have a friend that you think would enjoy this episode, maybe it would resonate with them, share it with them. That's such a good way to stay connected to friends and let them know you're thinking of them by sending them a podcast episode.
Today, we're talking about how your personality impacts your health.
Yes, we're covering the top 5 personality types our listeners use to describe themselves and pointing out important things to watch out for with each of them so that you can avoid the pitfalls and remain well.
No surprise that we're going to start with the perfectionist personality trait.
So for perfectionist personality type, they are ruled by the inner critic. And by they, I mean we. Mm-hmm. It's that constant berating and the negative self-talk, but also the little stabbing, right? Like, do you really want to post that? Or, is that email really good enough? Or you probably want to redo that. Or better not even try that unless it can be perfect. Like that, those are the kind of scripts that are running in our heads.
Yes. Why on earth would you think you could do that? Seriously, have you met yourself? Why would you want to subject yourself to public scrutiny? Why would you want to risk failure of that magnitude? Doesn't matter if the magnitude is so minimal. Risking any, the inner critic is all over it. Like, Why would you put yourself through that? I'm just here to help you. I am just here to keep you safe because you clearly don't know for yourself. Because you think that you should try that.
Mm-hmm. Soulfulness is like the polar opposite of the inner critic and his agenda and what he's trying to do, which is protect the ego, keep you safe. Whereas living from the soul is more of that like inner child, like mushy, gushy.
Do it in the moment. Don't worry about what's going to come in the next moment. Mm-hmm. If that's going to be falling on your face or someone laughing at you. Worry about that in the next moment when it happens, if it even happens. Do the thing now that feels right, that feels good, that resonates.
Okay, do you want to share something that I just completely made up the other week in an effort to lean into the imperfectionism, which is basically us trying to be cool with being imperfect and be okay with it and almost like embrace it as a personality trait, to ultimately like love ourselves more, to be completely honest. Okay, so I did this thing where I had this canvas and I like to paint for fun. I am by no means Picasso. Never taken an art class, not very good at it, but it's fun, cool, it's a release. So it started as I wanted to paint an abstract canvas for our dining room. Well, I was very humbled very quickly because let's just say abstract paintings are actually not as easy as they look, and mine was starting to look very ugly. So I decided to just go with it. And I was like, ooh, let me see how ugly I can make this. It went against every fiber of my being to do this, but I just said, fuck it. I'm going to try to make this as ugly as possible. And it was such a cathartic experience.
And then what happened?
And I'm staring at it right now. And it's like, it's not that bad. I'm not hanging it up, but it's kind of rewarding and satisfying to see like this ugly, unfinished piece in its entirety, staring right back at me.
It shows the inner critic, that inner gremlin, like you don't have all the answers. Look, I did this, and to some degree you were right. It's not hanging worthy. But on the other hand, you were so dead wrong because nothing bad happened. I'm totally fine. I don't feel bad about myself. No one laughed at me. Like all the things the critic's trying to save you from, none of them came to fruition. Like you're just fine. You're no worse off than if you had bailed in that moment.
So I would say if you are a perfectionist, if you identify as that, if you want to be an imperfectionist, try something this week that is totally against your nature. Share something. Maybe show your best friend an unfinished piece of work. Maybe send an email without rereading it 7 times.
Just not a work email.
Okay, if it's a work email, you get permission to reread it once. How about that?
I think that's fair.
Give yourself permission to be imperfect at least once this week and see how freeing it can be.
Next personality trait we're going to cover is the fixer. So the fixer is the person who always wants to make everything good for everyone. Everyone happy, everyone's needs met, everyone liking the restaurant we're going to for dinner, everyone liking the movie we picked. Or it's like your girlfriend who always dates the biggest losers and everyone says she's too good for him, but she sees what she thinks no one else can see. She sees that little savable part and she's going to save them or she's going to fix them. She's going to help him reach his full potential and then he's going to love her forever. Where can this get in the way of your own wellness? Because it sounds sort of admirable in some ways, right?
Definitely. I feel like it stems from being raised probably to think you should always put others' needs before yourselves. And in turn, you're subliminally taught to ignore your own needs when maybe that wasn't the exact message, right? But as a result, it is. It's, I need to put others before me. I need to be altruistic. I mean, the two of us grew up in Catholic communities and grew up Catholic, and I mean, that was definitely drilled into our heads because it's somehow, arrogant or self-centered to put yourself first.
Well, absolutely. The importance of service, of being of service to others, in particular, those less fortunate than you. I completely believe in that. However, I don't think I'm in a place to, or honestly capable of, fixing anyone else, especially if that person doesn't want to be fixed to start with.
A coaching secret is nobody can fix you, quote unquote. Only you can. Only you can. And by fix, we mean like evolve, right? And transform and become the better version of yourself. But nobody can do that but that specific person. I feel like it's also a prioritization issue. You're prioritizing others' needs before your own. And eventually I feel like that would wear you out to the point where you just want to throw in the towel. I mean, other people must get so annoying at some point because you're filling up everyone else's cup. And what about your cup?
So much of your energy and your attention goes toward fixing others, helping others. There's often very little left for you when it comes time to taking care of some of your own most fundamental wellness needs. There isn't anything left. You're just out of energy. You kind of back burner your own needs a lot of the time. You need to set parameters, making sure that your needs are met before you can go out and be of service to others.
I mean, we've said it before, right? Like setting boundaries is such an elusive term. Like we want to tell you to just go out there and set those boundaries, but they're much harder than they seem and than they sound, of course. But I think like starting small is key, right? So identifying when you're putting someone else's needs before your own, yet again, and maybe challenging yourself to pivot and to acknowledge that putting yourself first isn't selfish, and just starting small, right? Like picking the restaurant. Maybe you decide where you're going to go. If people ask and they offer, where should we go? Okay, pick it. Try it. Experiment.
I love that. All right, personality number 3, the quintessential high achiever. This is the person who's really comfortable on go, working, striving, reaching goals, reaching benchmarks, especially tangible or visible benchmarks. So this person might meet some of their wellness needs, like physical wellness needs, going to the gym, working on your body, because that's highly visible. You get a lot of feedback about that. But so much of wellness is invisible. Mm-hmm. Mental, emotional well-being, nutrition, all the things going on inside. That's an area that can naturally become really neglected for the high achiever who's so ultra focused on those bigger picture benchmarks like career and success and advancement in your career, and focusing so much of your time and energy on those aspects.
Right. As you're describing that, I'm thinking about an out of balanced wellness wheel. Like maybe you have your career all together. I've been watching Suits. It recently got released on Netflix. And, I think about, I love Harvey. Okay. Love this character. But he comes to mind when I think about someone who has gotten so far in their career, but in their personal life or their emotional well-being and their emotional intelligence even, and their mental health is stunted.
Yes.
Their emotional well-being is stunted.
True.
And the other aspects of their life are lacking because they focused so tunnel vision on this one thing.
Right, but all the visible, like I don't know where you are in the seasons, have you seen where Harvey lives?
I'm in season 2. I saw his apartment.
Gorgeous, impeccable interior, decorated. His suits, all top of the line. Obviously, It's a TV show, but if you just buy into the character, like he obviously spends a lot of money on aesthetics. You've probably seen him jogging a bunch of times, so he works on his physical well-being at least enough to give him the physical ideal body. But you are 100% right. And as the seasons progress, they dive more into his issues, his internal issues that he's neglecting, like intentionally neglecting because he doesn't want to deal with them. So he makes himself so busy with work and success at work that he doesn't leave time to work through those important areas. But eventually he does.
He's running from it. He's lucky that he isn't an HSP, highly sensitive person, or an empath like ourselves, who would just get sick. Okay? That's what happens when I try to run from things. My body shuts down and I immediately get sick, or with some like long-term, autoimmune kind of BS. So good for him. I know he's the character.
Yeah.
But so.
Yeah.
Overachiever in this context makes me think of also someone with maybe a tendency to fall into orthorexic patterns where everything is a checklist.
Because you take everything to extreme. Yes. And actually that kind of goes also into our 5th personality. There's definitely overlap in these personality traits.
Basically, we're all a mess. And you just pick one that you identify the most with and you go from there.
So number 4 is the overthinker, and this shares a big pitfall with the perfectionist. So the overthinker overthinks every single little step to the point where you can lose sight of the big picture and face analysis paralysis, overwhelm before even getting started. So this is where I think it really overlaps with the perfectionist. It's the you don't ever get started issue. If you're so busy preparing and studying and readying yourself to hit the ground running and do it to the best of your ability, So much so that you realize like, oh, I can't start yet. I don't know this. Oh, I can't start yet. I'm not ready for this. And so you don't ever get started. So, the saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, you're not going to be successful. It's something you don't ever do because you didn't start it. I got a little passionate there.
Well, if overthinking was a town, I think we'd be the mayors.
When you said that, I pictured MARE, female horse, and I was trying to figure out how we were the mayors in this situation.
I feel like overthinker almost is the root cause of a lot of these other personality types, but I think the overthinker is when that pretty much rules your everyday, when every little decision is something that needs to be ruminated on over and over and over again. So I think another challenge for you for this would be challenging yourself to make quick decisions and go with it.
Yes.
It's pretty empowering.
Yes. Start with little things that really don't matter, like what you're going to have for breakfast.
Yes.
Eggs or toast, yogurt or oatmeal, and you just have to pick one, and then you're going to have that. And if 5 minutes later you're like, oh, shoot, I should have picked the other one. Okay, have the other one tomorrow. But you made a decision, so on to it. Like, keep going, forward. Another step, another step.
Yeah. Keep going, one foot in front of the other.
Decisions that don't have big repercussions.
Yeah.
Just tell yourself, this or this. This or this. I like when there's two choices. Like sometimes when you get a menu and it's pages, I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm not doing
be here
it,
for
yeah.
hours.
It's too much.
But you give me this tiny little menu, I can do it.
There you go.
And our fifth and final personality trait, I didn't know what word to put with it, so you'll get what it means. You're Mr. or Ms. 110%. Everything you do it full out. In fact, you do it to the point of injury. And then when you're injured, you still keep training for that marathon and you delay your own recovery or make the injury even worse because it's never say die. When you make a decision to do something, come hell or high water, you're doing it. That's not how life works.
Yeah, I'm just hearing the word pusher, which makes me think about the Mean Girls quote. You're a pusher. Sorry.
But this is like a self-pusher.
Yeah.
Like you're just pushing yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I also feel like that could be because like the root cause could be, being raised in an environment that puts a lot of pressure on you. And so you've internalized that pressure to where you put it on yourself and need to push yourself so far in order to be good enough.
Yeah, like if it's worth doing all the way. And that's simply just not true. Some things are worth doing, but they're not worth doing to your own exhaustion. Some things you can do kind of like the painting you did, where you gave yourself permission, like you kind of knew in your brain you most likely weren't going to hang that painting in your dining room. So you were just doing it to do it. It didn't have to be your record best ever painting or admiration worthy from everyone who visited your home. You were just doing it to do it, and it was still worth doing.
If this resonates with you, go listen to last week's episode on sloth philosophy.
Yeah.
Take a break.
Yeah, because it's exhausting to do everything the best you can do it.
Yeah, it really is.
You can do some really important things your very best, but other things you should just
half-ass
do
it.
them. I wasn't going to go quite that far, but the things that don't matter, sure. Like folding towels. I will only fold towels like perfectly. I put the corners together and I force them to be all aligned so they look pretty in the shelf. But I was just thinking, what if I didn't fold towels perfectly? I don't know why this even like popped into my consciousness, but maybe they could be messy in the cabinet and maybe it wouldn't matter.
I think there's only one way to find out.
I know, food for thought. Then I'm also thinking like, no, I don't think that can be, but I haven't tried it.
I kind of support, though, the really nicely folded towels. There's something that is so peaceful about that. for the eye.
Yeah, I think that's where you just have to know for yourself what matters and what doesn't. And I think for me, unfortunately, that particular thing does matter. So it is worth the extra effort. But I'm going to think of something comparable that doesn't matter, that it doesn't bring me solace to look at the nice, neat, all the same size stack. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do that not to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah.
I feel like the theme that sort of weaved into all of this is aiming to be successful in life, but maybe asking yourself, what does success look like for you in your wellness? Where can you be a bit softer? Where can you give yourself some slack? Where can you put yourself first? Where can you tap into your inner child? Build that self-compassion, because at the end of the day, as cheesy as it sounds, wellness is about balance. So eat the cake and set the boundaries.
It's absolutely about balance, and balance for you. Balance is personal. Like what I just said about the towels. Somebody else would think, who cares? And they're not going to spend much time or effort there. I don't think that would work for me. So it's about knowing yourself and what will work for you, because you have 24 hours in a day and only the energy you have. So you have to divvy it up on what matters.
So hopefully today's episode was not only entertaining, but informative. And maybe you picked out a few different personality types. You don't have to just be one, that can help you gain more clarity around where you can cultivate more balance in your life.
Thank you so much for listening. We loved having you. We'll see you again next Thursday. Peace, love, and light.
Peace, love, and light.
The SoulFull Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers.